Hi Math 6-5. This is the video for lesson 95, which is on page 494. And your practice problems are on page 496. Let's go through and do a little bit of review. When we have a fraction, the top number is the numerator and the bottom number is the denominator. When we have a division problem, the number is the dividend divided by the divisor, and the answer to a division problem is called a quotient. This lesson's going to use these terminology a lot, so I wanted to make sure we had those fresh in our memory. Okay, let's look at. So in this case, this lesson deals with reciprocals. Okay, a reciprocal just swaps the numerator and denominator. It's another way to say it is it inverts the fraction. That's a fancier way to say it, but the simplest way to say it is basically it flips the fraction. Let's look at what that means, okay? So if your original fraction is 4/5, the numerator's 4, the denominator's 5, your reciprocal flips 4/5 over, and your reciprocal is 5/4. You see that? I'll let you look at that for a minute. 4/5, numerator, denominator, just simply flip those numbers over, and that is its reciprocal, okay? So let's look at what that actually means. Let's put that into practice. Write the reciprocal of each number. Now read these instructions. Leave improper fractions as improper fractions. I always try to remind you guys to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number, but that doesn't apply in this case. Okay. All right, 7/8. So using what we've learned about fractions and reciprocals, we're simply going to flip 7/8 to become 8/7. The reciprocal of 7/8 is 8/7, and I'm going to leave it as an improper fraction because my instructions told me to. I'm sorry, my dog is whining in the background. I'm not sure what Abby wants. Okay, so let's look at this. 3/10. The same thing. We're going to flip the fraction over. So our reciprocal of 3/10 is 10/3. Okay, what about a whole number? What does that look like? Well, we talked about just a couple lessons ago that a whole number can be made into a fraction by putting it over 1, right? So if my fraction for 4 is 4/1, my reciprocal, I flip that over and make my reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. What about 1? What's the reciprocal of 1? Well, I know that 1's a whole number, so I can put it over 1. And if I flip that fraction, it's still 1/1. Okay? When I flip those over. Okay, so let's apply that to... So in example 3 here on this sheet, we said that the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4, right? So we're going to use that to show that the product of any number, like 4, and its reciprocal, 1/4, is 1. Now remember, when you hear product, you think multiplication, okay? So that means if I take 4/1 and I multiply it by its reciprocal, 1/4, I get, and let's go through and do the numerator. 1 times 4 is 4. The denominator, 4 times 1 is 4. So I get 4/4, which we know equals 1. So the product, when you multiply any number times its reciprocal, you get 1 as your answer. Okay? That same thing applies to a fraction. The product of any fraction And that fraction's reciprocal is 1. So let's look at the fraction 1/3. Again, product, we're going to multiply. The reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1. And when you multiply that across, 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And we know 3/3 equals 1. Okay, so the product of any number or any fraction and its reciprocal is 1 when you multiply them. Okay, so we use this when we divide fractions and things like that. Now, when we see a division problem like this, if we remember from just a couple days ago in class when we held the fraction pieces, this means how many 4/5 go into 1. Okay, that's what that fraction means. But because this is dealing with 1, we know that we can take, when we divide 1 by any number other than 0, the quotient, or the answer to the division problem, is the reciprocal. Okay, so that's another rule for this lesson that will help you get through this lesson. So if we take our original problem, 1 divided by 4/5. So I'm dividing 1 by a number that other than 0, and I'm looking for my quotient. My quotient is 5/4 because it tells me my quotient is the reciprocal. Okay, so my answer to 1 divided by 4/5, or how many 4/5 are in 1, is 5/4. Okay, 5/4, or you can change that to 1 1/4 to make it a mixed number, since it's an improper fraction. Now you can check your work. Okay, multiply your quotient. Remember, when you're doing a multiplication problem, the opposite, or excuse me, when you're doing a division problem like this is division, the opposite function to check your work is multiplication. So you can multiply and work your way backwards. So let's look at that. 5/4 is my quotient times my original divisor equals. And let's see what we get. 5 times 4 is 20 over 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 divided by 20 is 1. Okay, so you can check your work that way. Okay, let's see that. Then you go on to your practice problems. Remembering those rules, your practice problems are here, on page 496. That's the page that these are on. The first one is simply write the reciprocal of each number. So A through L, you're simply going to flip that fraction. So if we were going to do A together, 4/5, I'm going to flip that fraction. The reciprocal for 4/5 is 5/4. Okay? Whole numbers, like K, you're going to put over 1, and then you're going to flip it. Okay? So how many 3/5 are in 1? This is a division problem. When we divide 1 by any number other than 0, the quotient, or the answer, is the reciprocal. So you don't even have to do any work to this. You don't have to use your fraction pieces or anything. If you apply how many 3/5 are in 1, well, I know 1 divided by 3/5, the answer is going to be the reciprocal of 3/5. Okay? Same with this problem, the same thing. 1 divided by 4/5, the answer is going to be the reciprocal of 4/5. Okay, so it looks a little scary on these two, but it's not. All right, this one, think of a fraction and write it down. Then write its reciprocal. Okay, so I would say, pick a fraction, whatever your favorite fraction is. Then it wants you to multiply them. What is the product? So that will use one of the rules that we have learned about this lesson also. Now, this is lesson 95, and since this was all assigned during spring break, you have homework on lesson 95. I want to make sure you see this though. Just like I did on lesson 93, since this is assigned over spring break, for both test 18 and lesson 95, do only even problems, okay? So that'll cut your workload down a lot over spring break. So for lesson 93, test 18, and lesson 95, do, is it 93? Hold on, let me see. Yes, 93, sorry. I just want to make sure I wasn't telling you the wrong one. Do only the even numbered problems, okay? That's not written on your assignment sheet, but that's your bonus for watching the videos. Hope y'all have had a good break, guys. Bye.